This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live.
If you're a coffee or tea enthusiast, or you know one, or you have someone in your life that is that impossible person to buy an amazing gift for, you need a Final Press. FinalPressCo.com/NGL. That's Final, FINALPRESSCO.com/NGL. It is the beautiful combination of a French press meets a Keurig Nespresso. It fits in your pocket, your purse, your backpack. You can take it with you camping. You can take it to the office. You can leave one in your kitchen. It's not even a game changer. It's a galaxy shifter between the coffee or the tea you've been drinking and the coffee or tea that you wished you'd been drinking. It's easy to clean. It is durable. It is absolutely amazing. And we're getting it to you on sale. You get 10% off when you put in the NGL code in the checkout. FinalPressCo.com/NGL. You will thank me later.
Welcome back to the North Georgia Life Podcast. Today we're at Hopewell Farms, which is on the very north end of Gainesville. It's really almost in Murrayville, or if you're a local, Murrayville. If you're not local, just remove like 4 random letters from Murrayville, and that's how you pronounce it. But Hopewell Farms is a regenerative farm, which, if you're not familiar with that term, there's several documentaries that have been done that are really good. It's been years since I should have looked this up beforehand. One I believe was called The Biggest Little Farm. And there was another one, it was a family out in California, I believe, that, basically the concept is you don't need, hundreds and hundreds of acres to feed a bunch of people. You need a smaller footprint that is actually designed to work the way things worked for hundreds and thousands of years before we ever got here to our modern westernized factory world. Most people on their average day, 95% of everything you consume that you ingest is coming from a warehouse or a factory. And just another spoiler alert, I know here, your body is not designed to be in high performance mode living off factory and warehouse provision. Our bodies are designed to take what is walking around outside, growing in the ground, and use that to fuel a really good optimal life. And most of us, we have very little of that at all, and we wonder why we're not feeling as good as we'd like to feel. Hopewell Farms is a regenerative farm that offers chemical-free, pesticide-free, like all the free is as organic as it was, or if you think about it, it's the way everything was 200 years ago, where there was no option other than to be organic. And they have a easy-to-use website. They're on some social media platforms. You can find them. They do farm tours. They do team building. We didn't touch on this. Phil Benelli, who's the owner operator. Phil has like 10 hats he wears that I'm aware of in life. He has a consulting business. We didn't talk about that, but if you're listening to this and you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur or you want to be, I can tell you, I know Phil and I have gotten to know each other a little bit over the last couple of years, but I know a few people that have known him a much longer time, and Phil is one of those people. He is super nice and kind, but the dude knows business. So if you need some help in your business world, this might be a phone call that you want to make and setting up things with him. We didn't talk about that at all. I just know that's a hat that he wears, and he's really good at everything he's done. So it's just he's a great person to be in touch with. We're surrounded by good people everywhere that want to be surrounded by good people everywhere. And the Benellis are some of those good people. Hopewell Farms GA is their operation. I think it is going to be a refreshing, almost like it's super complicated, but it's super simple. And you're going to hear Phil's story of going from commercial banking into regenerative farming as a dad, a husband, a father, just wearing all the hats in life, and they're succeeding. And this is just part of what makes North Georgia so stinking awesome. They are in our backyard. You know how to find us online: Facebook, Instagram, North Georgia Life Podcast at gmail.com. If you got suggestions on future episodes. Hey, one of the things, if you have any contacts I've shared with people, it's been a couple years since I've done some of our state parks, our national forest, those sorts of things. The people who are in the relative points of contact for some of these locations are they're it would be easier for me to contact Jason Bourne than it is to find these people and talk to them, because they're non-existent on anything public facing, and it's impossible. And I would love to get more people. One of our, I think, our highest downloaded episodes of all time is the Black Rock Mountain State Park episode, which was from, I don't know, 4 years ago or so. And I think it was maybe part of the whole, aftermath of COVID and whatever, but I can't find people's information. So if you have any, this is my personal plug, if you have any connections with people who are in, those state park, national forests, like wildlife agencies, that you think like this would be a good podcast, please get me in touch with them, because I would love to reintegrate that variety. And they're just some of the greatest episodes that we've had, and they're just really hard to find who the people are that I need to talk to. So let's get started. Hopewell Farms GA. Welcome back to the North Georgia Life Podcast. This is Jake, your host. We are in what feels like North Georgia, Murrayville, but it's really Gainesville at Hopewell Farms GA. Some of you may have heard of it, may think you have heard of it, may have been here, but we are here with Phil Benelli, who is the owner-operator. I think you have 12 hats that you wear on the property.
At least.
At least. Phil and I have known each other for a couple of years now, but he is one of those people that it's probably unfair at a distance to say it looks like everything you touch turns to gold. But I know there is a lot of discipline involved, a lot of behind the scenes, pushing paper and pencil and just making things make sense. And you've had a lot of people invest in you over the years of being able to do what you've done, which is leave one successful career, start another one, then start another one. And you've got a family, you've got a farm,
Sure
you've got my new best friend and the dog.
Hank the cow dog,
Hank
right
the
here.
cow dog.
Yep.
Hank looks like his cow chasing days are over.
He's not that old. He likes to lounge. He likes to lounge.
He's
Yep.
the cattle lounge dog.
He's an old soul.
So, Phil, give us just a short background of where you're from, how you ended up on the north end of Gainesville.
Well, I, like many North Georgians, am from Florida. I was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and when I was 12, I was very unhappy at the time, but I'm so thankful now my parents moved us to Sawtee. So Sawtee, Nakuchi, proud White County High School graduate.
That's a little bit of a change.
Big time, my friend. Big time change. And my dad wanted to be a farmer, which he didn't do that exactly, but they wanted to live in the country. So we ended up in Sawtee, and then I went to UGA, go Dogs. And then my now wife, Lindsay, she was my girlfriend then. She was still finishing nursing school in Athens. And I started working at a bank. I was a finance and Spanish major. So I got placed in Gainesville, and that worked perfect because Lindsay was in Athens. My parents were in Sawtee. I bought a house in April of 2008. Wanted to do that, but I was like, the prices have gone down just a little bit. I got to buy it before they go back up. And then they went down for a long time.
Yep.
But Gainesville is home. And I was 17 years as a commercial banker here, poured a lot into it. But then in 2019, we wanted to get a couple acres. So we found this house on 10 acres. Again, I was just a commercial banker. We had 4 kids at the time and found this house on 10 acres, but it was part of a 43-acre cattle farm. And they were going to sell the other 33 separate. So I did not want there to be a subdivision built around my 10 acres, which, again, I was not looking to be a farmer. I just wanted to run around and play and, deer hunt. So we ended up buying this farm. And I told the guy, Ricky, a great friend of mine, you could keep your cows here, Ricky. But then he didn't want as many cows, and I decided I want to get some. So really in early 2020, we started doing grass-fed beef. And then we're into what's called regenerative agriculture. So we want to build up the soil and farm in alignment with nature. So the nature is very diverse. So the more different species of plants and animals you have, the better. So we got chickens, pigs, turkeys, and goats for a little while. And started selling meat directly to people and eggs. And that's what we do. We do sell meat and eggs directly to consumers, and we love sharing the farm. I've learned so many lessons from the farm, so we do team buildings. so other people can learn some lessons and eat some delicious grass-fed beef burgers and pastured pork brats.
Commercial banking,
Yep.
regenerative farming,
Totally different.
totally different. What is the were you building on the ramp to get off commercial banking on purpose, or is it just like you woke up one day and you're like, I'm gonna rekindle Dad's vision and build a farm?
It just happened, and now it is definitely such a huge part of my life purpose. And I love to share with people because I feel very confident in who God made me and who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm doing it. But I didn't always feel that, and people sometimes struggle, like they want to know, what am I supposed to do? And there's opportunities which come your way, and you got to pray and think about them and move forward. And only in retrospect do you have the clarity. But I just thought it'd be cool to do, and I'm a business-minded and a growth-minded guy. So it never dawned on me, maybe I should just try raising one cow to feed my family. That never even crossed my mind. I'm not really a start small kind of guy. And I do believe, like, now we have 70 cows, and we'll harvest 7,000 chickens this year and 1,000 turkeys, and we'll probably do 100 pigs. And I don't know how many dozens of eggs we'll do. But for me to raise one cow would only be marginally easier than 70 cows, or let's say 10 cows. But it just immediately, I said, hey, well, I have this asset, and I would like to make a business out of it, because business is about adding value. So you've got to be doing something good to add value and then receiving value in return. Mm-hmm. And I also like to fully utilize things. On my farm, I could just have cows. But on the same farm, I could have the same number of cows, and I could have chickens. And then, without lowering the amount of chickens or cows, I could add pig. It just all goes together. I want more abundance, because then you're adding more value and it's more fun. And that's the way it's all set up. So it was not a part of the plan. A couple years into the farm, once we started to make money, we really started to sell in 2022. So once, I'd never had my own business before. Once I sold a dozen eggs, and I sold a pound of ground beef, and then once I started selling, I was like, hey, I like this. I want to do more of this. So I did. And then I was like, I think I want to build this up to where I'm not banking anymore. And I loved what I did as a commercial banker. But there's only so many hours in a day. So it was kind of getting in the way. Well, and a good lesson is that, this is not to brag on me, but I was the highest performing of the other bankers on my team. And a big life lesson is that, and we started during COVID, so there's a lot of people languishing, looking at news and being worried. And look, man, I didn't have time for that trash. And the people that were also in commercial banking, that were not running a farm and didn't have 4 kids, they were homeschooling and whatnot, they were producing less than me. And it was a big lesson. It's you need to be stretched. Yeah. Now, there were times I overstretched. I'll tell you that much right now. And so did my wife. That was a mistake. But you got to be challenging yourself. Yeah.
It's the mindset of what you focus on expands, whether it's little or much, or lack or abundance. You're gonna find more of that which you're looking for.
And when I, for a couple of years, I was going and underwriting commercial loans and going and selling for the bank, and then in between I'd do my chores. I'd move the cows, take care of the chickens and pigs first thing, take a quick shower, go to business meetings, deliver 30 pounds of beef in between, go to another meeting. And so when I was at my desk or wherever, I had to get things done. I couldn't diddle around and read up on Georgia football recruiting, as fun as that might be. And then when I was on the farm, I couldn't just diddle around and, I'll just do things. I had to think, how can I be efficient? How can I make systems? How can I do better? Because it had to get done in limited time. So that was helpful. And in that way, it helped to do both, but also bringing a business background to the farm was very useful.
When you left commercial banking, did your peers think Phil's lost it?
Well, the people I worked with, since I was doing the farm kind of, alongside the banking for several years. I just retired as a banker just over a year ago. So in April of 24, they weren't really surprised. And truly, I think a lot of them, I also started a consulting firm because I like business, but I think a lot of them were a little jealous, maybe. When you're a commercial banker, so you're the banker for businesses, so you're working with entrepreneurs all the time. And I know I felt it, and I feel like all business bankers do. You see these guys who are doing good in business, and you can't help but kind of want to do your own business because you see them and you're like, wow, just like me. But they went out and did it. But it takes going out and doing it. And I went from a nice W-2 to nothing. Because even though I did have the farm already when I left, the farm, it takes a lot to start a farm. So I was not taking any money out. I was still putting money in. So, I had to take some big licks out of my 401k,
Did you have a plan? Being in the world you were in finance, I assumed you had some sort of plan of the expectation of this is what's going to cost to get things off the ground. What was that process like for you? Did you do it yourself? Did you go talk to other people who had farms of like, hey, this is what I got. What do I need? Any of that?
Well, great question. There's plenty of farms around, but most all of them are like industrial farms where they just have like a chicken house for Tyson, and they're just doing stuff way different.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of places to go to ask, but we had been farming for a couple of years, so I had some ideas. But also, I left the bank in April, and by June we built our own poultry processing plant at the farm, and we were I think we were the only one in the state that was on a small farm. This thing, a USDA exempt on-farm poultry processing plant. We're only like one, and now I think there's three. So there really wasn't anybody asked. So I definitely had budgets and ideas, but they were mostly wrong. And everything is harder and costs more than you think. But you have to continue to refine, right? And now I went to this American Pastured Poultry Conference where all the people in the country who are doing this are there. And there's only so many of us, so that's very helpful. So you always got to be learning, always refining. I'm a huge believer that, you need to have strategy, and it always needs to be refined. Think through it, but it will never be perfect. So you just keep making your strategy better. You got to have execution. You got to execute on that strategy, and you always need to get better. And then you have to have cash. And that's the tougher part to come by. But with cash, you can buy time to come up with a good strategy, and you could hire people to help you with execution. And you could hire people to help you come up with a strategy.
What has this process been like? Because typically you marry somebody who is maybe not completely opposite you, but most of the time the husband, the wife, the relationship is not like two of the same type A, type B, whatever people. It's the opposites attracting. What's that been like for her? Because I kind of know her, but not super well.
We are definitely opposites. Obviously, our core values are the same. Although, like our core moral values, but different ways we go about things are different. I'm exceedingly extroverted, and I would not say she's exceedingly introverted, but she is not extroverted. I just want to go make new friends all day. And she likes the friend she has. And she's a wonderful friend. But anyway, we're different in that way. So when we were going to move to the farm, she was never like, yes, let's do it. And my dream of the farm kind of unfolded over time. But Lindsay loves it. And over time, she's got to where she's the most into, all organic, all natural food. She's big time into that, very knowledgeable on that. And our farm is something that feeds people in that. We are raising the most delicious, nutritious animal proteins you can find. So she loves it from that regard, but she's not hyper involved in the business because she's homeschooling our 4 kids. And golly, as of the time of this recording, I might get called up to the house as she's popping out number 5.
Yeah.
Because it's coming.
Yeah. She's by the time this airs, Number 5 will have arrived.
So I would say that Lindsay and I's relationship has forced me to be more efficient on the farm as well, because, she is into it now, but she's been through where, golly, pigs were getting out all the time. Things were ugly. She's homeschooling, leading our homeschool group, and the farm was more of a nuisance to her. So in order to be the kind of husband I need to be, I had to get my junk together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like when it comes to running the farm, we're not a husband and a wife duo. There's plenty of those where it's like the husband's he's out there doing the operations and the wife is doing the marketing and stuff. No, that's not what's going on. So that has helped me, that I just got to get done with things so I could spend time with Lindsay. So I better get efficient and build team. But she's a huge inspiration, obviously a big sounding board, and couldn't do without her.
I did want to ask you about the building a team. A couple things. One, in a small business environment in general, you're in a farming operation, but for somebody who's got, an art studio they're starting up, or a music studio, or, bakery or whatever, how do you think through and functionally put into practice, okay, here's the things that I physically can do, should be doing, or whatever, and these are the things that from the get-go maybe I've got to sub out. And I'm just, we're looking through the freezers, the things you got at the farm store. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, like, who's physically actually doing the processing? Who's putting things in vacuum sealed bags and packaging? Because that's a full-time job. At this point, that's looks like a full-time job.
Yeah.
And then you've got how many chicks next door here?
There's 800 sitting there this minute.
800 this minute. More to come.
Yes.
And then you've got turkeys coming.
Yep.
And then you've got cows, and the pigs probably want something at some point.
Yep.
So, how did you go from, like you said, okay, if we're going to have 1 or we're going to have 10 or we're going to have 80, okay, well, there's not that big. I mean, obviously you need physical space for them. You can't put everybody on a quarter of an acre. But going through, what do I need now? Like I don't want to say your crisis points of scalability, but.
Well, a blessing and a curse for me, or a blessing and a weakness I have to manage around, is that, I figure if somebody can do it, if anybody else could do something, I figure I could do it too. So I did not look at what is it that I cannot do. So at the beginning, I was doing everything. Now, the caveat to that would be that I am not legally allowed to harvest pigs and cows and sell them. So I would take the living pigs and cows to one of several wonderful partners. My number one partner, Steel Buffalo in Dallasville. They're awesome. They are my go-to for harvesting cows and pigs. We also like working with Potts Brothers when the Steel Buffalo is in deer season and is not doing cows and pigs. And there's a place, it was Blaylock's, now it's Blue Ridge Meats, and Raven Gap, who's great. So legally I wasn't allowed to do that, so I didn't. But otherwise, I was just doing it all. Of course, we were really small. Looking back, I can see team I would have added from the get-go, but I don't think I would have been, I kind of just had to do it to learn. Mm-hmm. And it would have been different, like I said, if I went into it with a partner, or if my wife was not busy with the homeschool and she wanted to be a part of it, it would have been like, okay, this is what Lindsay's way better with details than me, and organization and things like that. I love to go off on different, that. So I could have seen her been kind of back office really good. But as I grew, I did get to a point where I absolutely could not do more without team. And truly, I should have had it earlier, because even what I was doing was not all with excellence by any stretch of the imagination. So operations is where I first needed help, because okay, I've established a system of taking care of the cows and the pigs and the chickens. I can train somebody to do that, so I can focus more time on building our business and getting licenses we need and selling product. But now I have 2 guys who really help me with the operations, who are great, and I'm looking to make them significantly smarter than me in different areas of operations. One, I think I'm going to send off to a conference in June, very excited about. And so I want them to learn. And then I have somebody who, she started a very large organic veggie garden for us. And then I have somebody who does our, so anyway, we've just added, basically as we go on, I add people to, I'm not going to add anyone. I'm adding people to do over time all the different things that somebody else I can train to do. There's certain things I need to, this needs to be the thing that Phil does. So I try to get more and more where I'm just doing that. And sometimes it's not always the stuff I want to do. I would like to just walk through the pastures and go chainsaw stuff with a chainsaw. But that is not growing my farm. And this is an important mission in my life and my community. So if I were to just go chainsaw trees down for fun, I wouldn't be fulfilling any mission. I would be having fun, but I want to have fun and fulfill a mission. So I got to do the most important things for Phil to do and empower other peoples to do what God made them to do, which is fun.
If you could go back in time to started this 2019.
I moved here in 2019, and then we got the cows in the spring of 2020.
2020. And you got how many cows in the spring of 2020?
I guess 17. I got 15 mama cows and a bull named Cadillac and a calf.
Okay.
And a donkey named Medea. God rest her soul.
If you could go back in time to that point with where you're at now, some of the hiccups, some of the things you've knocked out of the park, what would you do differently? And then is it just like very obvious to you, or you're like,
so obvious to me now?
Okay.
I would have the equipment need. I mean, I have a nice tractor. I got stuff for the scale we're doing, but I would have got very little stuff. And I would have invested every dollar in sales and marketing. And that is what I've learned. Everything starts with sales. And because sales is serving clients, there's a lot of people who want all natural grass-fed beef. And I would have just got it to them, and sold half cows.
Yeah.
And sold the heck out of it and saved up my money. But because I was working full-time elsewhere too, I did spend more money on different equipment things to be more efficient in operations.
With your time.
Yeah, which again, I didn't know anything. I'd never been a farmer before. I literally had to learn it all from books and YouTube, which I'm glad that I did actually. But I would have just invested all my money in sales and marketing and just built that, because if you've got the sales, now you can add whatever. We added this organic vegetable garden. It should produce a ton of veggies. I already have subscription customers who I deliver meat and egg boxes to every week, that now, because I have those relationships, I can just offer up, would you like a veggie box as well? Boom. And I have learned that, like, we want to keep growing. So we were 43 acres. Now we're 91 acres. We're doing way more than we ever have. I want to keep doing more and more and more production. But when I look at it, the highest and best use for me to improve my community on this planet is as a sales and distribution channel, really as a brand, more than just production. And what I mean by that is the more that people know Hopewell Farms, and we have a brand promise of we're doing things in a way that makes the land a better place. We've got 0 chemicals on this farm, no herbicides, no carcinogens. We don't do any GMO. We don't do any animal vaccine. We don't do any of this stuff. And we're getting them a great product. Well, if I'm selling and I can deliver to people's door right to their house every week, well, now other guys who have 200 acres and they inherited it and they got cows, they can start doing things in an all-natural way and sell through me if they follow my brand promise. Well, I can't afford 200 more acres right now, so I can grossly expand my impact as long as I have the sales, because then I can pay them to do things the right way.
Yeah.
So I want to do the production more and more, because production is what's fun.
Somebody's got to be selling.
Somebody's got to sell.
Yeah.
And most farmers don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I love it, because
that's why they're farmers.
Yeah. But I love to talk about, all that selling is look, this is what we do. I talk about it. I go and present to groups or the Rotary Club or be on amazing podcasts like yours, because I love it and I believe in it. And we are truly helping the environment. We are healing the land, and I'm feeding people healthy food. So I'm pumped about it.
Yeah.
And if people want to buy it, we would love to serve them. If people don't want to buy it, That's wonderful. Come for a free farm tour. We don't care. We love you.
It's funny you say that because I was listening to an audiobook yesterday, and it was an interview with Brian Tracy, who's that sales, he's like the man.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long he's been around the sales world, but he was telling a story about IBM back in, I want to say it was the 90s. And they had been, the fat cow and just were taking a shellacking. And so they bring in this new CEO. And the guy basically says he was a business, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a business management consulting, guy. So they bring him in as a CEO, and he brings his team in, and he says, give us a few months, we'll figure out the problem and fix it. So 90 days later, he comes back to their board or whatever, and he goes, we found the problem. Low sales. and they're, no duh. That's why our stock's down, low sales. He said, I know how to fix the problem. High sales. And so basically what they started analyzing, or they showed them, your sales and your sales managers are really good at what they do, and they're spending so little time in the day or in the week on doing what they're really good at doing because you guys have made them do all these reports and all this paperwork and all this other stuff. It's very distracting. It's, it's not their sweet spot, so they're not efficient at it. And they cut the amount of reporting, and it was like scorched earth, get back to selling. And in a year, they turned it around.
Man.
So the premise was good sales fix everything. Because whether it's getting yourself out of cash bind or giving yourself margin to do the things that you need to do, you want to do, like you said, buying the stuff that you need to make you more efficient, it's a whole lot easier when that money's already in the bank and you already have a forecast of what next month's income is going to be. That's an easy.
And scaling production is hard. So it all starts, you got to go sell. And then you got to catch up production to wherever you sold, but you can do that because you have sales.
Right.
So it takes both, the sales and production, but you got to start with sales, because if you're producing things you're not selling, that's a bigger problem than if you're selling things you're not yet producing. As long as you can produce them.
Put that on your letterhead.
Yeah, baby.
That's an email signature right there.
Yep.
The regenerative farming, and this, we have part of our own journey in history with health and everything. We are kind of in that same world, but we don't have you said 91 acres? 88?
Yeah, 91.
91 acre. We don't have a 91 acre farm right now, but maybe one day. But we have watched a number of documentaries on it. The basic concept of this is the way farming always was. And I joke with people when people think that we're kind of like, we're a little bit out there and, whatever. And I said, you understand our society was healthier when doctors smoked in their offices? Like, as a culture, as a people, as an American society, we were healthier. We had less disease. There wasn't obesity. There wasn't heart disease when the physicians were smoking inside their own exam rooms. So in 40, 50 years, in one generation, we have lost that. And you look at a lot of the agriculture, the process of all of it. And we have some extended family that are in farming and in commercial farming, and they don't want to do it. But it's like they're in prison. Once you get in it, it's like trapped. You're trapped by the mafia. And
you're in debt, and you don't know anything else,
and you don't have controls over your operations.
Zero
because
control.
The government is telling you this is what you do, and you have $500,000 or $2 million in debt.
And you're selling into a commodity market. So, for example, we have chickens. You saw these, every 3 weeks we get 875 chickens. Hopefully next year, every 3 weeks, we'll be getting like 2,000 chickens. And they live in our brooder for 3 weeks. They go out on the pasture. We move them every day. They're eating grass, bugs, and weeds. They get processed right here. So then when they're 8 weeks old, they turn into boneless, skinless breasts and chicken wings and bone broth. And that's motivating and inspiring. And I feel like, man, I'm making I'm building up the soil. I'm making a healthy food product. It tastes way better. And I sell it for, I decide what I'm going to sell it for. If I was a chicken farmer, if you see a chicken house, which we have tons of in North Georgia, those guys don't even own the chickens. They own a warehouse. They own a meat production manufacturing plant called a chicken house. And the chicken company gives them 10 or 20,000 chicks at a time in the feed. And the guys are just managing a warehouse. All they do is collect dead chickens and fix machines. It's not even farming. Mm-hmm. It's manufacturing. And nobody gets pumped up about that. I mean, maybe if you inherited that, you are like, I'm going to keep doing it, but, and it costs so much money.
Yeah.
I mean, to build one of those chicken houses is hundreds of thousands of dollars. Whereas my little things I move around the pasture they cost me like $350 to build. Now, granted, I have to buy all the feed. I have to buy the chicks. I had to build a poultry processing plant. But anyway, yeah, it's so much more inspiring. Mm-hmm. It's fun.
Yeah.
That other kind of farming ain't fun.
You were talking about when we started about building up the soil, and I had this conversation with, I can't remember who it was, like in the last month, where they were talking about we're trying to get grass growing on our yard that we just moved into, and it's Georgia red clay. And the conversation was, as you're talking about the regenerative farming, if you have, I don't know, healthy soil, like whatever you want to, however you want to call it, but what you're doing where you're moving things across the farm.
Yeah.
The amount of water that soil can digest and process when we have these huge gully washers that wash out, the sides of roads and whatever. I mean, it's a crazy amount of water that soil can now absorb.
Yes.
That are
the organic matter.
Yeah.
For every 1% of organic matter, there's however many thousands and thousands of gallons of water per acre, which that land can absorb. So that red clay, there's red clay, in Georgia, that should be covered by many inches of topsoil. But we've stripped that away to build houses, or because people were farming in an improper way that eroded away all the topsoil. So that's it. Regenerative agriculture is building up the topsoil and the living, organic, dark black soil where life is. Mm-hmm. That orange clay, it's got a lot of minerals and things, but there's no oxygen or moisture in it, and so there's no living, it's not a living biome. So things don't thrive. Mm-hmm. And things just wash off it in sheets.
Yep.
In a rain. That's not good.
Right now we have turkeys that are coming eating the remaining grass seeds.
Well, they're also fertilizing, so that's good.
I know. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a couple things that you guys do here on the farm. What are some things you have coming up? Some monthly things that you keep in terms of open to the community? Just any of those things that you have kind of slotted for the balance of the calendar year?
First off, I would say go follow us on Instagram or Facebook, whichever you prefer, or both. Hopewell Farms GA. Farms is plural. Hopewell Farms GA. And we have on there all the different things we're doing. But some things to keep on your calendar or put on your calendar. The last Saturday of every month, we do a free farm tour. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours because there's always lots of questions. We meet here at the farm at 9 a.m. And you can see on our website, hopewellfarmsga.com, where that is. And we just walk around and you'll learn all about regenerative ag. And it's fun for all ages. We've had many times 3 generations together here visiting at a time. Grandparents, kids, and grandkids. Kids love it. They get to hold baby chicks, these little piglets. Older folks like myself and those older than us enjoy learning about the healthy food and farming and the science behind it in a fun way. So free farm tour last Saturday of every month at 9. Our team buildings are for corporations, whatever civic groups, and that is a half day. And it is so fun. We use the analogies of the farm. So we go on a very in-depth farm tour and use that to put forward leadership and team building lessons. And then we eat from the farm. We cook up grass-fed burgers. Sometimes we'll do BLTs with our world-famous home-smoked bacon or, chicken, whatever. There's all sorts of great food here. It's definitely centered around meat. I'll tell you that much right now. So those are the main things, the team buildings. And then, I used to do lots of free field trips, and I've dialed back on that because I have a 5th baby due, and I'm so focused on our mission. But if you have a men's group or a ministry group or a school, we love you, and we are happy to minister to people with doing events for such things here. So HopewellFarmsGA.com, check us out. Sign up for a team building for your team. They will love it.
And you mentioned before you have ordering, subscriptions, things like that. Is that directly through your website?
That is. So we deliver right to folks' doorsteps in Hall County every Wednesday. So you can go sign up for a weekly subscription on our website, HopewellFarmsGA.com. But also we have an honor system farm store at the farm. Honor system meaning like there's nobody working there. You come in, there's all sorts of meat and eggs, and there's prices, and you just pick whatever you want. There's no sales tax. You see the price. There's our Venmo handle there at Hopewell Farms GA, and you just pay us via Venmo or leave cash. We hope that you do pay. If you don't, I won't know, but because it's honor system. But we trust you, and so you can just come to the farm anytime. If you want eggs at 2 a.m, come to Hopewell Farms GA and get them and Venmo us. It hadn't happened yet, but I always toss that out there.
You've been in the Hall County, Gainesville area for a while. Do you have and it doesn't have to be specific to Hall County, but do you have a hole-in-the-wall place you like to go that is just like, man, when I'm craving something, I go here for this?
I have to say a couple. I got to say a couple. I don't know if this is a hole in the wall, but I'm going to tell you right now. Caroline's on Main and Flowery Branch, which just so happens to have Hopewell Farms burgers, is world class. It's breakfast and brunch. It's owned by a couple of guys, Nick and Roland, and Nick is the chef at Antebellum, which is an amazing restaurant.
I've
Flowery
eaten there.
Branch.
It's very good.
Roland, his business partner, is a awesome restaurateur, and he has the Stag on the square.
Mm-hmm.
But Caroline's is awesome. Great coffee, great breakfast and lunch. I will also say that the Gainesville Seafood Market is phenomenal.
That's one of mine.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And we're very blessed in North Georgia that, thanks to the poultry industry, in the 80s and 90s, we had a tremendous amount of people come here from Mexico and Central America to work in those plants that now are a vital part of our community and big entrepreneurs too. And we have just the best Mexican food and South American and Central American food you could get.
Mm-hmm.
And Supermercado Carrillo El Güero. Oof. You talk about some good tacos.
Atlanta Highway?
That's on Atlanta. It's right off Atlanta Highway. I forget which side street. But those are wins. So Caroline's, the Stag, Antebellum, Gainesville Seafood Market. You can tell when I was a banker and I had an expense card and I took people to lunch. So I did a lot of that.
One of mine, which is I've not eaten there. I say this with a slight caveat because they have such weird hours. I can never reliably plan to be there. Like you said, just going at lunch with a client or whatever. But it is right across, and I understand Lakeshore Mall is going away. I think that somebody told me they're tearing it down.
Tearing it down.
So not a reference point for much longer, but across the street from there is called Mercadito.
Okay. Oh, yep. I know what you're talking about.
So black and white checkered floor, kind of like old diner feel. Their tortas. I've gotten to watch, I think, 3 different people take their first bite, and this is some years ago. So if they changed anything, someone should be fired and do it the way you were doing it years ago. But it's the most unassuming sandwich. It doesn't look like anything when sitting in front of you, and then you take a bite, and every person is like, "Oh wow!" Like, "Oh my gosh!" So, but their hours are just weird, and so. If you can get there when they're open, they're
Mercadito. Check it out.
Asada torta.
Okay.
The steak sandwich. It's amazing. It is amazing. And their horchata is world class. So
I love it.
Yeah. So a question I like to do before the end of every episode, which is called Lightning Round, which is typically a question that has nothing to do with anything. Two things. Because you spend so much time on your feet, your most comfortable pair of shoes you've ever owned, or you can do both and or the animal that you don't have that you want to have on the farm, but doesn't have to be like a farming. You don't have to have 100.
I'm going to do you both because I'm an and guy, not an or guy. And the animal that I want to get next is sheep, is lamb.
Okay.
Sheep graze in the pasture, but they eat, a lot of what they eat would be different than cows. So again, I could put a bunch of sheep out there and not lower the number of cows, really. Sheep are delicious and they make wool. And wool socks are a comfy thing to put on your feet. My favorite things to have on my feet, man, I love, I forget what kind of, it's like these Skechers sneakers. I got at the outlet mall. And I've gone through several pairs. Like they're my nice dress sneakers. And then everything inevitably gets farmed up. And then they get dirty and they become my farm sneakers. But I will tell you, on the farm, we go barefoot a lot. My kids never wear shoes. But I like to farm in sneakers. There's sometimes you need big boots, you know.
Yeah.
But sneakers are where it's at, man. I like to be nimble. I like to jog around. I kind of have a philosophy. I mean, sometimes I like to walk, but again, because I had to work full time and work here, I was always like, why walk when I can run? Running's like walking, but faster, you know? So I like the sneakers.
There you go.
Boom.
Boom. All right. Give us your website again. Easiest ways to find you are Facebook, Instagram. Anything
Instagram.
we haven't covered in terms of how people physically get in touch with you?
I don't think so. Go to Hopewell Farms GA.com and follow us on Instagram. And I will tell you, from being on the farm and working with nature every day, it is undeniable there is a God which created this farm and created you and me. And that's displayed on the farm, and it can be displayed in any work that you do. And there's so much natural beauty in North Georgia. I love that you're doing this podcast. I'm so happy that whoever's listening is either living here or visiting. It's an amazing place, and we're happy you're here.
Phil, thanks for your time, man. This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live.